ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a man. Wait. I took up the wall. I took up the wall.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition on Split Decision. With me today, I have the rising star from Cuba, the WBA champion at 168, David Morrell. David Morrell, how you doing, champ? Pleasure having you on the show.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Congratulations on the devastating KO win over Cazares that you scored in the first round. How was it fighting back in front of a crowd, taking it all in after the devastating win?
¿Cómo fue pelear enfrente de un público después de tan buena pelea?
Nada, ¿sabes? Fue, al principio fue algo un poco como que de nervios, ¿no? Pero después supe arreglar mis emociones y fue algo súper espectacular, la verdad.
It was a little bit of a nerve wrack at first, but I was able to control my emotions, and it was definitely something that was unforgettable.
Well, you definitely put on a flawless victory. I was surprised when anyone mentioned you rabbit punching when you was only returning the favor, because he was obviously hitting you low and doing certain stuff in the inside. What was your take on that?
Estaba sorprendido cuando la gente empezaron a decir que era golpes de conejo, cuando tú solamente estabas retornando lo que él te había dado con los golpes bajos. ¿Qué es tu respuesta a eso?
No, mi respuesta es primero que todo que esto es boxeo. Esto no es ajedrez. Simplemente él empezó golpeándome bajo en la zona, en los golpes bajos. Luego empezó a meter la cabeza. Hubo un parte que pasó también incluso hasta los codos. Yo simplemente, aún así una reacción, yo simplemente reaccioné a las cosas que le estaba haciendo.
It was simply, to a reaction, there's an action. And I was simply, fighting back to those low blows that he was giving me first, to the, he hit me to my growing, and I was retaliating to that. It wasn't anything intentional at all, but I fought back, and from the elbow hits to the low blows to my growing, I had to protect myself. Otherwise, it would be either me or him.
Y tampoco le di golpes golpes de conejo, como están diciendo. Simplemente el único golpe que después varias veces he visto la pelea aquí junto con mi novia, ¿sabes? He visto varias veces la pelea, y no solamente fue un solo golpe, y fue que él se viró y yo tiré el golpe y bueno, lamentablemente le golpeé atrás, pero no fue algo que como para que él haya ido para el hospital ni nada así.
Yeah, and I wouldn't consider, much of it being rabbit punches. It was simply me, defending myself. And as I'm throwing the punch, he turns. So unfortunately, maybe there was one that hit where it wasn't, to the side or maybe to the back of the head, but it wasn't anything that I intentionally did. It was kind of already in action. And when I threw the punch, he kind of just turned around, and that's where it looked a little bit hectic, because we have been watching the fight kind of on replay, me and my girlfriend, and that's all that we kind of see.
Nunca vi que le di ese golpe para atrás. Incluso hasta ellos mismos se contradicen, porque dice que fueron 5 golpes que le di de conejo y solamente hubieron 3 acciones en la pelea.
Yeah, and it's a little contradictory, because people are saying 5 to 7, rabbit hits, and it's impossible because there wasn't even that many punches that were thrown in the fights or that were landed. It was that simple one that I did, see, but it wasn't an intentional thing. And I don't consider it a rabbit punch because it wasn't technically to the back of the head. It was to the side of the head.
Well said. And ironically, when Salido fought Lomachenko dirty and he was hitting him low, everyone told Lomachenko, this is the pro game. You have to adjust. This is no longer the amateurs. If someone being dirty to you, you got to be dirty back. But all of a sudden now, when you do what you're supposed to do, return the favor, like you said, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Now they trying to critique a victory that's flawless. So do you think the criticism is way out of place and they just reaching?
Dice que irónicamente es cómico que ve que cuando Lomachenko se fajó con Salide, literalmente le estaban diciendo tienes que fajarte sucio para atrás, pero ahora como eres tú con esta situación, están diciendo todo lo que están diciendo. ¿Cómo tú te sientes de eso?
No tengo ninguna, primero que todo, no tengo ninguna preocupación. ¿Sabe? Mi mujer está bien, mi familia está bien, mi equipo de trabajo está contento con lo que hemos estado haciendo y yo también. Y ya, como tú dijiste, es Lomachenko no es cubano. Lo que pasa es que como él es mexicano y yo soy cubano, ahí es donde viene la contradicción, solo eso.
I'm happy, my team is happy, my family is good, I'm good. We are happy with the work that we did and what we showcased on Sunday night. But like you said, it is me, and the fact that I'm a Cuban boxer and he's a Mexican boxer. I think that's where a lot of fans, maybe, Mexican fans get into play where it's like that fight back and forth. But had it been a different fighter doing that, the outcome maybe would have been different, or maybe the commentary would have been different.
Si hubiese sido un americano, cualquier de otro país, no hubiesen dicho nada, pero como fue un cubano el que ganó un mexicano, pues entonces si quieren como que buscar esa cosita que no encuentran.
Yeah, maybe if it had been an American boxer or any other boxer, but since it was a Cuban boxer, winning or beating a Mexican boxer, they try to find whatever, they can to kind of take away from what I did, which was a good job.
Yeah, that was a flawless victory, and definitely the knockout was to the chin. 2 punches connected to the chin, nowhere near the back of the head. So with that being said, this is the first time you had a full camp. Was sitting down on your punches something you worked on in this camp? Because your power definitely showed. I mean, you just knocked out your opponent who's your second undefeated fighter you fought in your career. You knocked him out in the first round with 1 punch. So is sitting down on your punches something you worked on in this camp?
Trabajaste en sentarte como en tu golpe, como centrarte un poquito más. Esta fue la primera vez que tuviste un campamento pues pleno, con todo, sparring, la semana que llevaba. Eso fue lo que te ayudó como a sentarte un poquito más en los golpes y concentrarte un poco más.
Sí, la verdad sí, me ayudó más el tiempo sobre todo, tú sabes, y eso me ayudó mucho en lo que fue la parte de analizar bien la pelea.
Yeah, it was very helpful. I was able to, concentrate a little bit more and kind of figure out my tactics during training. And like you said, sit down more on those punches to get them nice and precise.
There were reports of you and Ryder. You were guys supposed to fight in Clash before this fight came to fruition. What happened with that fight? Can you inform the fans what happened with the Ryder fight?
Tú inicialmente ibas a pelear con John Ryder. ¿Le puedes decir a tu pueblo, a tu público, qué pasó con esa pelea? Si sabes lo que pasó.
Sí, simplemente que él empezó a poner muchas excusas.
Basically, he started making excuses towards the end.
Primero que si no era boxeador para él porque tenía muy pocas peleas.
At first, he was saying that, I wasn't a boxer for him because I had 2 little fights.
después que si quería, ¿sabes? Una bolsa más grande.
Then he started saying he wanted a bigger bag for the fight.
Y cuando se le dio esa posibilidad, después volvió a poner de nuevo la misma excusa.
And then after we, you know, gave him all the possibilities and gave him the bigger bag and gave him all that he wanted, he went back to that initial excuse of me not being a good enough fighter for him.
Well, that knockout speaks for itself, and you are the WBA champion with only 5 fights. You won the title when you was 3-0. So what did he say when it comes to your title? I mean, you had the title to present, something that he doesn't have.
Dice, tú tienes el título, tú te ganaste el título en la tercera pelea, algo que no tiene. ¿Qué dijo cuando se le dijo eso? ¿O eso fue la única excusa que tuvo?
Ya, lo único, sí, ¿sabes? La única excusa que tuvo él fue esa. No sé por qué no quiso coger la pelea, aparte de eso que sé, ¿no? No sé por qué no.
That is the only reason I am aware of now that he gave, was that I wasn't a good enough boxer for him, even though I did have the title, and we all know of, you know, what I am capable of. I think it was a matter of him just not wanting to fight me.
Yeah, I think he meant you was too good of a boxer for him. That's why he didn't want the fight.
Tú eras muy bueno para él.
And so since the last Cuban Canelo Alvarez, fought was Lara, he gave him such a hard time, where a lot of people felt like, Lara won the fight. Do you think Canelo will fight you once you put yourself in position? I know that Canelo is the WBA super champion. You're the WBA regular champion. But once you get the names, the meaningful fights and put yourself in position, do you really think Canelo is going to fight you?
Dice, Canelo se fajó contra Lara y mucha gente pensaron que Lara ganó esa pelea. ¿Tú piensas que cuando tú pongas todo en derecha, Canelo quiera fajarse contigo o piensas que te va a correr?
No, ¿sabes? Sobre eso, ese ahí no sabría qué decirte. Simplemente lo único que sí sé es que cuando se enfrenta a mí, no va a ser lo mismo, ni que con el mejor respeto a Lara, ¿no? Pero no va a ser lo mismo ni que con Lara ni que con ningún otro boxeador último que él ha enfrentado.
He says, I'm not sure, how that will come about, but I know that it is in the works. And when there is no other choice but to fight me, I'm not Lara. With all my due respects to Lara, he's a great boxer, but I'm not any of those boxers he's fought. I'm nothing like anyone he's fought before. So, he either runs or he accepts it.
Si dice que sí o si dice que no lo sé. Pero lo que sí sé es que yo voy con todo y que créeme que no voy a salir derrotado de esa pelea.
If he says yes or if he says no, that's something that I can't say right now. But when the time comes and are able to bring, I'm not coming to lose by any means.
Benavidez is also another champion or a former champion in your division. He's the number 168 pounder right now, to proven otherwise. He had high praise for you. Benavidez said you are more of a challenge fight than Caleb Plant, who's a champion right now, and Edgar Berlanga. He said you are the best out of the 3. What's your thoughts on his comments about you and that potential fight in the future?
Dice que Benavidez definitivamente ha hablado con respeto contra ti, que de los 3, incluyendo a Berlanga, a los de 168, que tú eres el que más está preparado, como que te dio tu respeto. ¿Qué es lo que tú piensas sobre eso?
No, el respeto es mutuo, tú sabes. Yo lo respeto a todos de las 168 libras, a todos los respeto. Pero sobre eso pienso que tiene toda la razón. Berlanga no ha peleado con ningún boxeador que de verdad sea de respeto. Incluso hasta el último que peleó logró los 8 asaltos.
Yeah, I mean, the respect is mutual for him as well as he has for me, what he's mentioned about me, But he is correct. I mean, compared to the other 168, I don't think there's anyone that is at my level. And when it comes down to it, I mean, even someone like Berlanga that people do talk about, and I think that's a fight that a lot of people want. His last fight, they fought people that aren't to an elite caliber. So and he lasted the full 8 rounds. He didn't really prove himself. So, I mean, I agree with him when he says that there isn't much to prove, and the respect is mutual as far as him as a boxer and what he says about me.
Yeah, y Caleb Plant, la última pelea que tuvo, un hombre que le pudo haber ganado ante los dos, fue hasta el 12, like, no.
As well as Caleb Plant, he had an opponent in his last fight that it was someone that he should have beat prior to the 12 rounds. He lasted the full 12 rounds. So to me, it seemed like, it's just, it's easy.
Well, you obviously, have a short list at 168. Who is on your short list, for your next fight? I mean, you got Rosario, Bektemir, Edgar Berlanga. Who's on your short list if you can make it happen, or a fight that you would like to have?
Una pelea que tú quisieras tener, o quién está en tu lista corta con que quieres pelear en la 168.
Todos.
I want everyone at once.
No, yeah. ¿Sabes? Quiero pelear con todo y como digo yo, que todo va entrando en la bolsa poco a poco.
I want to fight every single one of them, and like I say, have them all fall into my bag one at a time.
And that's why you slowly but surely you becoming the people champion. And I just want to, I read reports that you are the #1 mandatory to Caleb Plant. Is that true? Or, on your end, you know that?
Tú eres el #1 que tienes que como ir contra Caleb Plant. ¿Eso es verdad? ¿Qué tú sabes de eso?
No, eso totalmente es falso. Eso es como todo, ¿sabes? La gente pone cosas como para ir creando una pelea.
Yeah, I don't agree that that's correct. I believe that's false. I feel like, fans and the public obviously will comment and make remarks on to who or what needs to happen, but there's nothing mandatory that I know of as of yet.
Pero si hay una pelea contra Caleb Plant, 100% que sí.
But if that's what's next, I'm 100% for sure in it.
Okay, yeah, and you're obviously the WBA regular champion, so I just wanted to confirm that. So, like Morrell said, that is not true. So, can you name your top 5 dream fights of all time? Legends that you would have loved to fight.
Aki, I'm just gonna ask. In his weight class, without his weight class,
all time. It don't matter what the weight. Just dream fights.
Sin contar el peso, tus 5 peleas que tú hubieses querido pelear con esos boxeadores.
Uf.
Ahora y antes, lo que sea.
Mike Tyson. Sugar Ray Leonard. Joe Jr.
Roy Jr.
Roy Jr. Muhammad Ali. Y Mano Piedra, Roberto Durán.
Robert Duran.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great list. Now, can you name 3 fighters today, like you would love to fight in the future?
Ahora, 3 peleadores ahora, boxeadores ahora, que a lo mejor en un futuro.
Caleb Plant, Benavides y Canelo.
Caleb Plant, Benavides, and Canelo. Give the public what they want.
Yes, sir. We would love to see them fights. That's must-see TV. And I just gotta ask you and get your predictions on a couple fights. Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant. That fight seemed to be next, according to reports. That's the fight that's getting finalized. How you see that fight going between Caleb Plant and Canelo?
unas peleas que vienen ahora, unas cuantas peleas.
Okay.
Supuestamente dicen que Caleb Plant va a pelear con Canelo. ¿Quién tú dices que gana de Canelo y Caleb Plant?
Canelo Álvarez.
Canelo Álvarez.
Does it go to a decision or is it a knockout?
No, decision.
Decision.
Bueno, es que Canelo siempre gana por decision.
It's just that Canelo is always going to go to decision.
Eso,
He's not a knockouter.
Eso es algo que tú sabes. Todos sabemos que todas sus últimas peleas han sido como que vamos, no digamos que no pelea porque los boxeadores a los que se ha enfrentado son buenos boxeadores, pero no aptos como para pelear con Canelo Álvarez.
O sea, ¿quién?
Will Smith y el último ese.
So you know, he says the last fights he's seen, you know, from Canelo Alvarez, you know, it's gone to basically a decision or, you know, something technical, but he feels as though it'll last the full rounds.
Okay, and Errol Spence versus Pacquiao. How do you see that fight and who you have winning?
Okay. Me and Spence, my good friend Pacquiao.
Yeah, he likes Errol Spence. I want to say Pacquiao, but I think
It's going to be a good fight. Yeah,
$500 is place, man.
$500 in place. He says he's gonna bet.
You know, hey, I'm with Morrell on this one. I think Errol got this. Yeah. And the last prediction, Wilder versus Fury trilogy in a month, less than a month away from now. Who you have winning in that fight, in that trilogy?
Hey, man, damn. What?
Tú quieres que gane Wilder.
Yeah, I want.
He wants Wilder to win. But
yeah, pero Fury está, no diría que en su mejor, digamos que en su mejor momento, porque es bastante, ¿sabes? Para la cantidad, la cantidad de peso que tiene, bastante rápido.
Yeah, he says, you know, Fury, he might be in his best time, even though he's, you know, his age, but he might be in his best time, and despite everything, he's hardworking, you know, so it could go either way.
Y Wilder lo veo, ¿sabes? Demasiado focused, you know, demasiado enfocado en la.
I do see Wilder, you know, being more focused, and this is kind of his chance to prove himself.
Y voluntad mata talento.
And sometimes want and need beats talent. Kind of that hunger beats talent.
So. Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. And the last question I have for you, who are the top 3 greatest fighters of all time in the sport of boxing, in your opinion?
Que han sido los mejores boxeadores de todo el tiempo, los 3.
Hello.
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, you good. Everything is good.
Damn, man.
Yeah, hold on a second, Morrell. I think I just lost you right now. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think did somebody call you? I think somebody calling you or something. Oh yeah, I think you know, hold on. Yeah, I think I lost you guys, but can you guys click on the link and come back? You know, they should be right back. Let me read the super chat by my man OG Swag. I appreciate the love and support. My man said, "Are you broke? Decafs, put your money up." We're gonna talk about it.
Yes.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, everything good. I think somebody just called you guys when Morrell was talking. So yeah, who's the top 3 greatest fighters of all time in your opinion?
Okay, after me,
We'll
nah,
see.
so hey man, Muhammad Ali, man,
Muhammad
legend.
Ali,
My favorite, Mike Tyson,
Mike Tyson,
the best.
the best.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard,
Sugar Ray Leonard.
hey man.
The great list.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great list right there. And who's the greatest Cuban fighter in your opinion?
Mejor cubano.
El mejor cubano,
There's been a whole lot of great Cuban fighters that couldn't turn pro. So from what you know about the Cuban system, the amateur system of all the great fighters, you know, who's the greatest Cuban fighter you ever saw?
I don't know, man.
It's
There's
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Okay, nombra 5.
Five.
Yeah, should we name
5.
5?
Yeah, give me 5. Yeah, give me 5. If you can
Oh.
name me 5.
Okay. De todo, aunque no fueron pro.
Yeah. Stephen
Stevenson.
Cubano,
Pero fue cubano.
Mami, es cubano.
Okay.
Ariel Hernández.
Ariel Hernández. Errol. Mantequilla.
No. Mantilla. En su tiempo.
In his time.
En su tiempo.
Okay.
Yeah, man. That's it.
That's 3. 2 more.
2 more.
Yeah.
Uno más, a ver.
You got a long list to choose from.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Hey, man, no, pero everything, o sea, todos los jugadores de antes eran demasiado buenos.
Like all Cuban boxers back in the day, they were beyond
Eran
good. Like
demasiado buenos.
if only they had the opportunity.
Es muy difícil.
Habla sobre la oportunidad.
¿Sabes? Es muy todo y tanto como los de antes como los de ahora, you know? ¿Sabes? Hay muchos jugadores en Cuba que se están hay muchos talentos que en Cuba que se están perdiendo lamentablemente por cosas que no podemos salir del país. Por ejemplo, yo mismo tuve que dejar a mi familia atrás, etcétera, etcétera.
Really just it goes down to opportunity. You know, there's so many Cuban talents, not only in boxing, but you know, since we are speaking on boxing, that just are so good, that would really just be amazing and legends here in the US had they have the same opportunity as Mexican boxers, American boxers. But unfortunately, due to that regimen and to not having that opportunity, you know, they miss.
Muchos boxeadores que los amateurs que están en Cuba, que tú los traes aquí, hacen una buena preparación y le ganan a muchos profesionales.
If you know, you were to take any amateur from Cuba and bring them here from an amateur, they would annihilate a lot of pros here in the US.
Y los últimos 2 que me faltan.
And the last 2, just to wrap it up.
Chocolate Tito, I think you think he should be on the list.
El Pulpo Duegel.
¿Pulpo qué?
El Pulpo
Sí.
Duegel.
Pulpo Duegel.
Octopus, ¿no?
Octopus, yeah.
Octopus Duegel y me.
And me.
Yeah, and you got chance to prove yourself. So it's gonna be a journey watching you. And like I said before, David Morrell, he's one of the special ones, 192 as an amateur, and now 5-0 as the WBA champion. Pleasure talking with you. It's a pleasure having you back on Split Decision. Thank you for showing up again, and great talking with you, champ.
Okay, thank you, man. Thank you por support me for everything, man. Y gracias una vez más por darme la oportunidad de estar en tu programa especial y acogernos a mí y a mi mujer Saba aquí en tu programa una vez más. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for having me, you know, and always supporting me from day one prior to any of this, and having me and giving me so much love, not only to me, but to my significant other. We appreciate you so much. Very
Thank
thankful.
you so much, and thank you, Anna, for doing a great job translating. She got a cooking channel. I'm gonna leave it in the comment section below. And like I said before, thank you, David Morrell, for always showing me love and being the first champion I interviewed on my show. Like I said, it's always a pleasure talking with you, my brother.
Placer siempre hablar contigo.
No, el placer todo mío. Muchísimas gracias, hermano.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much, brother.
All right, have a great day now.
See ya.
Take care. That's David Morrell for you guys. There have been criticisms, of David Morrell last fight with Cazares that he was being dirty, which I was extremely shocked to hear any criticism, especially when it was such a flawless performance. Usually when a fighter wins by KO in the first round, you really can't say much about that. But I saw David Morrell receive a whole lot of backlash, which was extremely shocking to hear and to see, especially when we know in the pro game, unlike the amateurs, you always got to adjust. And when I say adjust, you have to adjust to whatever is taking place. David Morrell is a type of fighter. He's so skilled. Certain fighters is going to go in the ring not trying to match him skill for skill because he has the skills to pay the bills for years, right? So they have to go in the ring and try to be rough with him, try to rough him up and apply dirty tactics, hit him low, do what Salido did to Lomachenko, because obviously he haven't adjusted to the pros like a lot of other pros did, right? Because he had 192 amateur fights and now he's 5-0 at 23 years old. He just defected from Cuba last year. So they obviously going to go in the ring, try to be rough with him. However, the great thing about David Morrell, unlike Lomachenko, he adjusted in the ring to even dirty tactics. You saw him in the inside moving his head like a veteran. When Cazares, his opponent, hit him low and was coming in with his head, David Morrell returned the favor. Like he said, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, like I said, the criticism is out of place. You cannot take anything away from the flawless victory David Morrell put on last Saturday, or last Sunday, I should say. With that being said, let me go ahead and read a couple super chats before I pick up the phone calls. OG Swag, my man said, all you broke decafs, put your money up if you want to address AKHi. Man, look, man. Anybody can get it.
Call me the problem.
Call me the can man.
But you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.
Even my own AKHi can get it. You could call in and get this free smoke. I pay a decaf to call in if I have to. So I appreciate the love and support, OG Swag. Make sure you keep these decafs in check in case any decaf disagree in the comment section. Don't just troll. We've been waiting on a live body to cook to this day. I mean, come on, man. We've been waiting on a live body to cook. So do us a favor and call in. I appreciate the super chat, my brother. Also appreciate the super chat, Rock, OG. And like I said, go ahead, call in. The number is in the description box. I'm gonna pick up the phone calls right now as we speak. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the phone lines and pick them up, and we're gonna start talking boxing in a few. All right. Well, we back live. How you doing, Aki? Who this is, and where are you calling from?
This is Joey from South Florida.
Joey, what's going on? Let me go ahead and read the super chats. You know, I got a couple super chats I missed while I was, fixing my studio. It crashed on me last minute. Thank you for the content new to the channel. I appreciate the super chat, my brother. Go ahead, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you won't miss a live. Go ahead, you could also go ahead and call in as well. Just tell me your area code, and I'll pick it up right after Joey. So go ahead and call in. I appreciate the love and support. If you are here, if you are new here, subscribe below and call in. So that being said, let's just get straight to it with a lot of these topics. So there have been so much in the media lately. Let's start it off with a bang. The one that really got my attention. Ryan Garcia finally reacted to Gervonta Tank Davis' knockout over Barrios. He said, two explosive fighters bound to be legendary. Now, first of all, the only thing legendary about Ryan Garcia is his cap. It's more legendary than the hat Jake stole from Floyd Mayweather. That cap is more legendary. The one that Ryan Garcia pulled against Gervonta Tank Davis. But he has more to say. He said that we all get our time to shine. Don't worry. Just be ready. He also he stated, recharged and ready to get back to it. 21-0, 18 KOs. Time to get to 22. And then he retweeted to ESPN Ringside. He said, this is the only fight that I want. Would love to make this happen this year. You know this, Leonard. So he's talking to Floyd Mayweather, CEO. Now, obviously, we already know what time it is when it comes to Ryan Garcia. What's your thoughts on his tweets that he sent to Floyd Mayweather CEO Leonard Ellaby of claiming he won't Gervonta Tank Davis next? Are we back at square one again? Is he trolling us again? What's going on?
I mean, this is just talent at this point, man. To act like this, like you didn't just waste our time for the past 6 months, as if you didn't tell us that you wanted this fight from jump, only to back out and claim you want Pacquiao. Then that fight didn't happen to pull out of your Fortuna fight. Like, come on, we've been through this roller coaster again. You expect anybody to take you seriously? The way I gotta see it to believe it. And I don't mean, oh, this fight gets announced. I gotta, until I see it, not just a fight day, until I see them in the ring. Because at this point, Ryan Garcia proved just because a fight is announced doesn't mean he's getting in the ring, as we saw from his last fight. So until I see these two in the ring, I got to see it to believe it.
Of course.
Until then, it just sounds like a bunch of cats to me.
Man, even if I see it, I won't believe it till they actually get in the ring. If the fight get announced and it's official tomorrow, I wouldn't believe it after the stunt Ryan Garcia pulled. Because as far as I know, he could pull the anxiety card again because he's fighting the bully Tank that reminded him of the bullies that used to bully him in high school, and then he pulls out, just like he did with Fortuna. So I won't believe it till they actually both in the ring. And one way for Ryan Garcia to fix his reputation, though, I must admit, is actually fight Gervonta Tank Davis. That's the only way Ryan Garcia could fix his reputation he ruined and flush down the toilet. Because that's exactly what he did. I can't believe or take anything Ryan Garcia says seriously. I mean, are you serious? Ryan Garcia is still trolling Gervonta Tank Davis to this day? Come on, man. Find something better to do, because social media ain't it. Ryan Garcia need to go train, find him a real, a legit opponent. He had it with Fortuna. He had it with Devin Haney, but he want to troll Tank. It doesn't make any sense. You see, Devin Haney fights Linares. Ryan Garcia could have fought. He could have been fighting Devin Haney instead of Linares, but he want to take credit for what Linares did and say, "Oh, Devin, I'm sorry, I would have finished you." When he could have fought Devin Haney since he's Devin Haney mandatory. And then we see when Gervonta fights, Ryan Garcia back trolling again, claiming he want to fight Gervonta Tank Davis again. I mean, like I said, it's always back at square one with Ryan Garcia. It does not get old. It's crazy because I read an article where it says Ryan said the reason why he deactivated his Twitter because he had thought Twitter was toxic and he wanted to get rid of it and stuff like that because it's too much taking place. You know, there's a lot of criticism, a lot of backlash over anything he do. That's around the time he was trolling Tank, but he announced that he fighting Pacquiao. But peep this, Ryan blamed the fight not happening on Pacquiao. But who is Pacquiao fighting today? Errol Spence Jr., the number 2 pound for pound, a killer in his prime. Man, Ryan Garcia want to blame Manny Pacquiao for the fight not taking place when he was trolling Pacquiao and made Pacquiao lose his belt just for negotiating with him and taking him too seriously. When Ryan, all he was doing is trolling or trolling for the gram. You know, so like I said, the only way Ryan Garcia could fix his reputation is face the bully he's been running away from, Gervonta Tank Davis. Would you agree?
I would agree. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be Tank for me. It could be Tank. It could be Devin. It could be. For me, it just has to be a champion or just a top fighter. Because it was one thing for Ryan Garcia to troll Tank Davis, to troll Pacquiao, to not fight Devin, but you didn't even fight Fortuna. Like even with everything that Ryan Garcia did, I was like, okay, at least he's fighting Javier Fortuna. That's a quality name. That's a considerable, not considerable, but like that's a good jump from a Campbell fight, consistent. But then you pull out of that fight, so it's just like and it's not because you're injured or anything like that. It's because you claim you have anxiety. So I expect your next fight to be on the level, if not above, what you had before. I don't expect a fighter to be below Luke Campbell as your next fight because you don't have an excuse not to be. Anxiety doesn't give you an excuse to pick a weak opponent next, because if anybody else would have done it, such as Devin Haney or Tank Davis, that would be called a cherry pick. So you don't get excuses. So no, Ryan Garcia absolutely has to face an A-level opponent his next fight, or at the best, Gervonta Tank Davis.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If he does that, I mean, yeah, that's on the right path. He'd be on the right path to fix his reputation because, like I said before, we got to stop calling Ryan Garcia one of the Fabulous Four. He got to be removed from that list. Plus, he is not the second coming of Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya fought the best. He never trolled. Oscar De La Hoya at 23, he was fighting Chavez Sr. He was fighting Chavez Sr., Pernell Whitaker, and legendary fighters. Man, this man fought everybody, win or lose. Ryan Garcia will troll everybody. I mean, that's like I said, that's a fine line between a real fighter and a real troll, you know. And Ryan Garcia, like I said, he did this to himself. You know, nobody did this but himself. You know, like I said, he did this to himself. So in order to fix his wrong, he has to face his fears and fight Gervonta Tank Davis. That's all I really can say about Ryan at the moment in time, because anything that he says, it doesn't come out believable. I mean, I just can't take him serious at the moment in time. But with that being said, there's been conflicting reports of Teofimo Lopez. ESPN, one of the commentators on ESPN, he said that Teo is in Italy on a vacation with his wife, I think his wife. And on the same day, ESPN had stated that Teofimo Lopez was still sick at home, which that's two conflicting reports that contradicted each other. You know, which one is it? You know, it is either or. And then I actually watched an interview with Teofimo Lopez Sr. that he was doing with ESPN. When they asked him how Teofimo Lopez doing, he responded by saying, "Oh, he's doing great. You know, he's 100%." And mind you, you know, that was like a week ago, you know, where Tio was sick. So it usually takes more than a week or two, according to reports. They say to recover fully from COVID, you need 2 weeks to recover fully from COVID, right? And Teofimo Sr., he was saying that he's 100%, and that's when the interviewer snatched the mic. So that's a whole lot of fishy things going on, right? Because my question, if Teofimo Lopez is in Italy, why go to Italy? Like, Italy is obviously a place where there's a lot of COVID, and how can you travel if you got tested positive for COVID just like a week ago? In order to travel, you need to submit a COVID test 3 days prior that need to be negative. So if you don't test negative, you can't travel. Therefore, if Teofimo Lopez caught the COVID June 15th, he at least needs 2 weeks to be COVID free, to be COVID negative on the test. You know, so what's your take on that? You know, there's been a whole lot of fishy things taking place. What's your thoughts on all the above?
I mean, when I heard that, because I was watching the Lomachenko-Nakatani fight, I think it was after they said that Teofimo was in Italy and he had tested negative for corona, and I'm like, wait a minute, he just quote unquote had it. So I was like, that just doesn't sound believable enough to think that he just got it and then just somehow tested negative. I mean, you could say that he was positive a few days prior, but even still, the numbers don't add up and the stories are conflicting. I still think, I don't think it's Teofimo not wanting to fight Kambosos. I think it's more, I think it just has to do with the fight date that they had. It was a horrible fight date. The Zone, Showtime, ESPN, another pay-per-view with Chavez Sr. and Jr. It just, Teofimo had no chance of selling that fight. Now, he's not an established star like Tank Davis, or who could potentially do something like that. So I think this was just a method of pushing the fight date to August 14th, even though that's close to Pacquiao versus Spence, but it's a much better fight date than what he had already, because that fight, that week was just too jam-packed with too many events. I personally don't think Teofimo had COVID. That's my opinion. I mean, that's just me, but I think this was simply just based off the fight date.
Yeah, now I definitely agree with you, because even his post on Instagram where he, spoke to his fans as soon as he got COVID, he said, the most powerful thing I could do is protect those I love. And I love the sport of boxing and the athletes, fans, trainers, promoters, and my sponsors. And I chose to keep my fellow athletes safe, right? So he's talking as if, it's his decision to cancel the fight and protect the people he loves and the people he going up against, so on and so forth. It's not your call. It's not your decision to cancel the fight or make the fight go on. If you have COVID, the fight is automatically canceled. So it's highly fishy and suspicious when Tio says, I choose to keep my fellow athletes safe. The most powerful thing I could do is protect those I love. It's not like Tio could fight Kambosos if he tested positive for COVID, right? So what do you mean I choose to? You didn't choose to do nothing. All you did was reacted to the news by just saying, okay, it is what it is. Things happen. But you didn't, like I said, it was not Teofimo's decision or call to cancel the fight. If you get tested positive for COVID, the fight is automatically canceled. So that was already fishy enough, but like I said, I think it's all about the ticket sales, the date, the pay-per-view numbers, because remember, Teofimo had the June 5th date and Floyd Mayweather chose to fight Logan Paul on June 6th. I don't know if Floyd Mayweather did that purposefully, because see, Floyd Mayweather moves very calculated. He moves very calculated, and I peeped when Teofimo was claiming that he the A side over Gervonta Tank Davis. He said, "Listen, I'm not fighting Tank if I'm not the A side. The fight is not going to happen. This is why the fight won't happen, because I'm the A side. He's not the A side. I just beat Loma. I got these belts, you know, so on and so forth." Right? He was saying all these things, and then he said, Floyd Mayweather is saying Gervonta is the A side because he's desperate for attention. He living off Tank, and he was going at Floyd, claiming that Floyd Mayweather is desperate for attention. He misses the limelight because he's out of the sport. He's no longer active. And ironically enough, Floyd Mayweather fights a day after his, you know, he was supposed to fight a day after June 5th. And what did Teofimo Lopez do? He had to cancel his fight or postpone his fight thanks to Floyd Mayweather. But Floyd Mayweather, supposedly, he misses the limelight. He desperate for attention. You got to be careful with what you say, you know, because Floyd Mayweather, like I said, I don't know if that was calculated by Floyd. I don't know if that was a petty move by Floyd. But one thing for sure, that was a move to teach Teofimo Lopez a lesson, to put some respect behind Floyd Mayweather's name, you know. And Teofimo Lopez, you know, he said certain things about Floyd Mayweather. He also said that he was going to sell 2 million on pay-per-view. But I'm pretty sure when Triller gave him the call, letting him know that his pay-per-view numbers are, you know, is not looking too good. I think that's when he realized, he reality sucked in that he's not that big of a star. Because at first, you know, I didn't know if Tio was being delusional when he was saying things like, "I'm gonna sell 2 million on Triller." I really thought he was capping or just saying it to get more attention. But looking back now, I truly believe that he really thought he could sell 2 million pay-per-views. I don't know why, but that was his opinion at the moment in time. So I think he had a wake-up call, and now they're trying to put Oscar De La Hoya on the card in order to save the day. So we'll see. You know, I really wanted to see the Composers fight. It had nothing to do with the sales and stuff like that. I just wanted to see the fight. It's a good fight. You know, I mean, I think people pay attention too much to the sales. You becoming a superstar comes with the game. You know, all you got to do is fight the best. Look at Errol Spence today. He had to go through killers to get to where he is, and now he's fighting Pacquiao. That's going to take him to a superstar status. Teofimo is going to have to go through that same process Errol went through, Oscar went through, Floyd went through, and all the greats went through if he want to become a superstar. But what you have to do is fight name opponents. Composer is a good fighter, but he's not a name opponent in the States. The name opponents are Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Gervonta Tank Davis. Even if I'm being truthful, Joey, my man Josh Taylor is a legacy fight, no doubt about it. But Josh Taylor is not a big name, is not a bigger name in the States than Devin Haney. I think Teofimo versus Devin Haney is a bigger fight as far as numbers and sales than a Josh Taylor fight as far as sales. I think Tio versus Gervonta, without a doubt, is a bigger fight and will do way more pay-per-view sales than a Josh Taylor fight. So I know Tio pushing for that Josh Taylor fight, but he must realize that's not gonna really sell you 2 million on pay-per-view if he's about making money while making his legacy. I think the right way to go is like what Josh Taylor said or told Teofimo to do, which is go after Devin Haney, clean your own division, fight Devin Haney, fight Gervonta. Then you could fight me, and that's a bigger fight. Because Josh Taylor, he said that he believes Teofimo is insecure. He believes that Teofimo is insecure about his win and trying to make sure he could get another legacy fight, because even if he loses it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal than losing his belts right away at lightweight. What's your thoughts on all of the above?
I mean, no, I agree with that because I always said, look, Teofimo versus Josh Taylor, is it a big fight? Yes and no. I think it would push Teofimo higher on the pound-for-pound list. I think that would make Teofimo a certified legend, even if he's not the undisputed champion at 135. Beating Josh Taylor would make him the actual undisputed champion at 140. And to be back-to-back like that in this little time, that would make Teofimo a certified legend, in my opinion. But that legend and star are two different things. Tank Davis has not accomplished as much as Teofimo Lopez, but he's a bigger star than him. And that's what Teofimo has to understand. Just because you beat Vasily Lomachenko doesn't mean you instantly sell 2 million pay-per-view buys your next fight. Because although I wanted to see the fight between George Kambosos, there's not a lot of people outside of the boxing community that even knows who Kambosos is. It started becoming a more popular fight, but it's sad to say, but there's more people that are curious about Mayweather versus Logan Paul, that are more curious about Tank Davis' fight against Mario Barrios because those names hold value. And Teofimo's name just doesn't hold value yet.
Exactly.
I also agree that Devin Haney fight would be a bigger fight. It may not be as much of a legacy fight yet because Josh Taylor is considered a more dangerous fight because he's a bigger fighter and he's the undisputed champion at 140. But it's still a fight that I think would take Teofimo's stardom to a level rather than simply his legacy. Because although legacy is important, that doesn't give you all the money. Like Tank Davis.
Right. And and let me just add this. I think Teo versus Gervonta or Teo versus Devin Haney are big money fights and legacy fights because of the simple fact these guys are the Fabulous Four of his time. So we know Gervonta is going to go out there and do great things in the future. He you know, one thing for sure, he's going to continue winning and accomplishing things. So is Devin Haney. So is Teo. So is Shakur. So these fights will be legacy fights as well. And that's the tricky part. They are legacy fights as well because Teo versus Devin will be for the undisputed. Now Teo could become undisputed because right now he's only unified. Josh Taylor, he's really undisputed. See, the thing when Josh Taylor is telling Teofimo, clean your own division, this is not a person talking that didn't do it. This is a person that fought. Josh Taylor, if I'm not mistaken, I think his last 5 opponents have been undefeated fighters. Or if I'm not mistaken, one of them probably got 1 loss. Like if you combine the record of his last 5 opponents, it's probably like 201. 200 wins and 1 loss, or 250 wins and 1 loss. Like that's how amazing is his resume. Like Josh Taylor really cleaned out his division fighting Regis. But man, Josh Taylor did not care who he had fought. He just wanted to fight the best till he proved he the best. No one questioning Josh Taylor pound for pound status and him being undisputed for a reason, because people respect him for being a fighter and the way he approaches the pro game. I mean, Teofimo really threw me off when he said Josh Taylor is looking for an easy fight against Terrence Crawford. I was like, is he serious?
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, man. Teo said that Josh Taylor is running from him because he want to fight Josh Taylor so he could be faster in that fight. Now, first of all, Crawford is faster when it comes to his footwork, when it comes to his hand speed, when it comes to his IQ, when it comes to being even overall a better fighter. Terrence Crawford is a better fighter than Teofimo Lopez all around the board. That's a dangerous fight for Josh Taylor. Crawford is, according to new media, pound for pound #1. You are delusional if you think Josh Taylor fighting Terrence Crawford, moving up in weight to fight a man that stopped his last 6 opponents at welterweight. If you think that's an easier fight than Teofimo Lopez, you lost your goddamn mind. Excuse my language, because that's the nicest way I could put it. Because Terrence Crawford is pound for pound #1, and he's a destroyer in the ring. He's not just a boxer, he's a puncher boxer. He's a puncher first and a boxer second with crazy hand speed, faster than Tio. He has more speed than Tio, more power, and you name it, more everything. And Teofimo is telling Josh Taylor, you fighting and chasing greatness to fight Crawford because you running from me. Yeah, that, like I said,
that doesn't make any sense because Josh Taylor moving up to 147 to face Terrence Crawford is a disadvantage. You're fighting Crawford, who's been at the weight class for about 3 years. Josh Taylor's never been at 140. Teofimo moving up to face Josh Taylor would be an easier fight all around, not simply because Terrence Crawford's a better fighter, but because Josh Taylor is the king of 140. This is his weight class. He feels the best at 140. Meanwhile, he has no idea what it is to be a welterweight. And that potentially being his first fight up there, that's an incredibly dangerous fight.
7 pounds.
Teofimo versus Josh Taylor.
And 7 pounds, like the jump that you're talking about is 7 pounds. Yeah, and if Tio moves up, he's comfortable at his own weight class. That's a great point.
Exactly. You see, Tio versus Josh Taylor, to me, that's a 50-50 fight. Those two are number 5 and 6 on my pound for pound. I don't know who to pick on that fight. I keep flip-flopping on who I think will win. The Crawford versus Taylor, like, don't get me wrong, I think Josh Taylor is a phenomenal fighter, but I can't get over the fact that he really wants to fight someone as dangerous as Terrence Bud Crawford, a man who not just went through the light welterweight division, but has stopped everybody he's fought at 147. It's not as if Crawford's power diminished at 147. No, he's still stopping guys. And for Josh Taylor to say he wants him next, who, once again, like Taylor, did accomplish true undisputed status, that's not running from greatness. That's chasing greatness. Because I'll say it right now. Let's say if Taylor did beat Crawford, I'd put him at pound for pound number 1.
Of course.
I don't think
of course.
Taylor,
that's without a question. Yeah. Without a question. You beat pound for pound number 1, and you're already on the top 5. You automatically become pound for pound number 1. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the fact that he want to fight Crawford right away is mind-blowing to me because nobody volunteers to fight Crawford, especially moving up a division. I mean, like I said, everyone respects Crawford and they respect him as the boogeyman. When it comes down to making a fight, a lot of fighters will retract their statements, start playing hard to start requesting a lot of money when it's time to make the fight, because they know how dangerous Crawford is, and that's who Josh Taylor want to fight. And Josh Taylor is not trolling Crawford. Like, Josh Taylor really want to fight Crawford because he just want to fight the best. So that's exactly what I'm saying. And this is why Josh Taylor had made his comment. He said he thinks Teofimo is insecure because he won't even clean out his own division when there's big money fights. He said, Josh Taylor said, I can't understand. He has the big money fights against Devin Haney, against Gervonta. Why is he shining away from those fights? And my man in the chat, let me read the super chat real quick. He said, AKHi, I think that Tio haven't really fought nobody. To me, Kome and Nakatani isn't really that good, and Loma gave the fight away, so he is improving. I mean, I wouldn't say that. Tio fought. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, of course, because Kome is a good fighter. I know Kome. And Nakatani, stylistically, he presented some problems for Tio, but Nakatani stylistically doesn't present them same problems to Lomachenko. But when it comes to Lomachenko, that was a great win. That was definitely a great win, and that definitely put him on the pound for pound list in my books. But it doesn't end there. That's when your legacy first start. That's not when your legacy ends. Your legacy start when you enter your prime. Right now, Teofimo should be fighting the Devin Haneys of the world, the Gervonta, the Josh Taylor. If he fights all those guys, win or lose, he's gonna be a star. Win or lose, he's gonna be a star. So it don't matter. Like, people really put too much on the, try to emphasize too much on being undefeated. It's like everyone nowadays is like they trying to sell their undefeated records to a certain fighter. Like, that's almost how it comes off. You see all these Europeans selling their undefeated records to Canelo. Billy Joe Saunders was holding on his O, not fighting Andre, not fighting anybody till he fought Canelo. And That's how a lot of fighters are moving. It's like almost a lot of fighters are keeping the O hostage to sell their O to a particular fighter in order to cash out. You know what I mean? And speaking of, one of my close friends, he sent me an article of Canelo Alvarez trainer. You know, I think the article read that after he's done with Caleb Plant, he want to fight Jamal Charlo, and then maybe Errol Spence, if not Benavidez. Now, first of all, man, I hope that's true. You know, I don't know if you heard the news. I hope that's true. You know, that sound like music to my ears, huh? Man, please don't tell me that's not true.
I heard that I heard just as dangerous of a path that he might go up to 175 and face unified champion Beterbiev. At least that's what I heard Eddie Hearn claim. Now, I don't know if that's true because Canelo recently also stated that he did not feel comfortable at 175, even facing Sergey Kovalev. So I'm not too confident in that claim. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Canelo does fight Beterbiev and wins, that's a huge win. And to me, that's a bigger win than Triple G ever was. Because Beterbiev is a prime fighter, undefeated, is a huge power puncher, clearly the king of his division. If Canelo to fight him, I'd give him huge props. But once again, it all comes down to if Canelo fights him. Because we've done this circles and circles for where, like, if Canelo fought this guy, he'd be this guy. He'd be the best. If Canelo fought that guy, he'd be the best. But then we hear the Canelo announce that he's going to fight Avni Yildirim, and then it gets elevated to number one pound for pound status. It sounds too good to be true. I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That move don't sound too realistic to me, but it's possible, man, because the zone could be telling Canelo, listen, we willing to give you a lot of money because the way it works now, excuse me, Canelo is a free agent, so he no longer exclusive to the zone. Canelo now is being paid less than he was when he was exclusively with the zone. For example, against Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo was guaranteed $15 million, but when he was exclusively to the zone, he was getting paid guaranteed $33 million a fight, and even against Andre, they offered him $40 million guaranteed, right? So, I mean, I could see the zone coming into Canelo Alvarez and telling Canelo, listen, we are willing to, pay you $33 million guarantee, $35 million if we have to, but you're going to have to give us a fight we care about, a 50-50 fight. Beterbiev fight is it. Beterbiev fight is a dangerous fight. There is no doubt about it, But I see Canelo taking that fight. I don't see why not. He already fought at that division. He stopped Kovalev. And I seen Beterbiev get dropped twice by lesser opposition than Canelo. I seen Beterbiev hurt real bad, making silly technical mistakes. So as long as Canelo could avoid Beterbiev power, he could definitely capitalize on Beterbiev mistakes. That will make Canelo the undisputed European king. Ain't no doubt about it. If he move up and fight Beterbiev, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? He'd be undisputed against Europeans. Ain't no doubt about it. But I think it'd be wise to let the dust settle at 168. Let Beterbiev, try to become undisputed, right? For the meantime, fight Jamal Charlo, Canelo Alvarez coach. Like he said, go with that plan. Fight Charlo after Caleb Plant. If you can't get Errol Spence after that, then fight Benavidez. Maybe by then, Beterbiev is going to be undisputed. I'm just saying, right? So that will be a better plan, in my opinion. And the way Canelo Alvarez move, if you peep his whole career, he fights fighters coming off their worstest performances. That's the Canelo Alvarez print right there. That's his blueprint. Remember, when Caleb Smith looked terrible against Ryder, he fought Caleb Smith. Ivini coming off a loss, he fought Ivini. Billy Joe Saunders losing to an unknown fighter and getting the stoppage in the 11th round. That's when Canelo started negotiating with Billy Joe Saunders, when all along he was claiming Billy Joe Saunders is a runner. He's not gonna fight him, so on and so forth. And even Kovalev, you know, we saw with Yard, he was one punch removed from retirement or getting knocked out. We even seen it against Gennady Golovkin. Remember, he actually gave up the belt at one point when he beat Cotto. He gave up the WBC belt when the WBC tried to order the fight, and because at the time Gennady Golovkin wasn't looking flawed. Canelo didn't know if Gennady Golovkin was the truth or did he have mistakes that he could capitalize on. He wanted to see his weaknesses before he fight him, right? It wasn't until Gennady Golovkin looked exposed against Kell Brook and Daniel Jacob, that's when Canelo Alvarez fought him. So we seen pattern. I mean, the patterns have been throughout his career. Almost every top level opposition he fought, it had been coming off a bad performance. And what did Jamal Charlo look like his last fight?
Look like straight crap.
Man, Charlo, I'm telling you guys, go back to the 8th round. I think it's the 8th round. Go back and watch how Montiel, he hit Jamal Charlo with 7 punches combinations. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 punches. I'm talking about he threw 7 punches and connected with 7 punches. And then in the 9th round, Montiel threw like a crazy uppercut to the body, crazy uppercut upstairs, and caught Jamal Charlo, hurting him really bad. I mean, it was a bad performance by Jamal Charlo, his worstest performance to this day. I mean, I never seen Jamal Charlo look that vulnerable, even against fighters like I forgot the southpaw he fought. Do you remember the southpaw he fought at 160 when his brother lost and kind of messed with Jamal Charlo head? You know, when they fought on the doubleheader. Do you remember?
Oh, the guy who was it, Deryevchenko you talking about?
No. A southpaw. He from southpaw. Ukraine. Yeah, he from Ukraine. You know, he gave Jamal Charlo a tough fight too. He was tricky. He is southpaw. It was a replacement opponent for Morrell. Not Morrell. What I'm talking about?
Korobov or something?
Korobov. Yep, Korobov. Korobov, right? Even Korobov, it was a tricky fight, but he was never really hurt. You know, Montiel really hurt him bad, you know? And let me tell you this. I know you probably didn't hear about this. Montiel, actually, Canelo Alvarez trainer, he used to train Montiel before. Canelo Alvarez trainer is the former trainer of Montiel. So he trained Montiel before. He knows about Montiel. So looking at that performance, I'm pretty sure they were looking at it as like, oh man, it's an opponent for the picking. He looked vulnerable enough for Canelo Alvarez to fight. And that's why I always said, if you want to land the Canelo Alvarez fight, if Benavidez want to land the Canelo Alvarez fight, if Andre want to land the Canelo Alvarez fight, if Charlo want to land a Canelo Alvarez fight, the recipe is not look spectacular. The recipe is look vulnerable. That's how you land a Canelo Alvarez fight, which is why I believe Canelo might fight Charlo now. And even if Canelo beat him, you know, that won't take nothing away from Canelo win. You know, if Canelo knocks out Charlo, nobody could say, oh, well, Charlo looked like crap his fight before that. It's okay. He still beat an undefeated champion that never lost before. Because in our reality, Charlo beat Montiel every single round. So it don't matter how he look in that fight. So I love that fight. And I will pay for that pay-per-view right now if Canelo fight Charlo. That would be a hell of a fight. But I still got to see it to believe it. You know, I just felt like they playing with my emotion. And when it's time for Canelo Alvarez to select his next opponent, it won't be Charlo and it won't be Benavidez. You know what I mean? And it won't be Benavidez. So we'll see. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. We'll see if Canelo is going to pull a page out of Ryan's book or or Ryan or Tio.
Come on, that's Canelo's book. You know that.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's Canelo's way. But I'm just saying, let's see. Let's see if Canelo's for real. I think I believe him because of Charlo's last performance. You know what I mean? Like, I think I believe him. We'll see though. And let me tell you this. Whatchamacallit? Hold on. I gotta give you these quotes. So Lou B Hop, you know, he came out and he was speaking on Deontay Wilder, and he said that Deontay Wilder is a horrible fighter. You know, he started sounding like Canelo. You know, he was saying Lil B Hop is a horrible fighter, and Tyson Fury gonna whoop his ass, and it's funny because I swear I felt like Lil B Hop was reading comments from my comment section on YouTube when he was talking and doing his interview. That it's like he made sure to get in every single comment from the comment section. Like he was thinking about the comments. Oh yeah, I saw that comment too. Let me get that in. Let me get that in on this interview. That's how it came off. He went out of his way to bash Deontay Wilder to me because he just ignored the glove situation. Like I said, I mean, I don't care what you say about the fight when it came to the rematch. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But one thing you cannot deny, you know, when it came to that fight, you cannot tell me Tyson Fury gloves did not look fishy. You know, at least his right glove in the rematch. You cannot tell me that glove right there does not look tampered with. So if it was tampered with, then the trilogy, the outcome will definitely be differently. Because if Tyson Fury did not cheat, he's supposed to be able to replicate exactly what he did in the rematch, or even worse. Because according to the fans and Lil B Hop, Deontay Wilder is a terrible fighter. He can't box. He can't learn nothing at 35 years old. What the heck he's gonna learn from his trainer, who he already knocked out? I mean, we heard it all before in the comment section. But let me ask you this question, Joey. Can you name any fighter? Can you name any trainer? Excuse me. Can you name any trainer that could beat their fighter ass? Can Lil B Hop trainer beat his ass? Can anybody trainer beat their fighter? Beat their fighter? Can Errol Spence trainer beat his fighter? Like, I don't understand the point that people is making. Like, oh, Deontay Wilder.
The better question is,
yeah,
can like Bo Mack beat Errol Spence? Can like it's not even about beating your own fighter, but beating the fighter they're up against. What does that matter?
Yeah,
that's why they are a trainer. You think Freddie Roach could beat Floyd Mayweather? you think Eddie Reynoso could beat Shakur Stevenson? Like come on, now this is ridiculous. It doesn't matter if your trainer lost. It's about what they can train, not how they fight. It's not their job to fight. It's their job to show you how to.
And that's
like Roger Mayweather was.
Yeah,
Roger Mayweather was not a bad fighter, but he was nowhere near his nephew's level. And look at him now. Roger Mayweather is one of the most decorated trainers of all time. Freddie Roach, no different. It's not their job to fight. It's their job to train you how to fight and get ready for that. So I think that's a very ignorant comment.
And that's my point. Like, I don't understand the angle, and that's why you can't just repeat comments from the comment section. I saw Lil B Hop just like I said, he was just repeating comments from the comment section that didn't make a whole lot of sense because, like I said, Malik Scott, Deontay Wilder explained why he picked him as a trainer. He said it's one thing for you to be trained by anybody, but it's important to listen to your trainer. You have to be trained by someone you're going to listen to. So when he tells you to go out and do something, you're going to go out there and do it. You're going to believe in him and believe in his instructions to go out there and do it. And he explained that Malik Scott, he knows a lot about the sport. He's a student of the game. He trains his son. It's not like Wilder's the only fighter he's training now. He's been training fighters. He's been training a lot of fighters if you go to his Instagram and watch him. But now that he's training Deontay Wilder, people thinking that, oh, it's his first time training. This is his first time training, when that's not the case, right? So Deontay Wilder pointed out that when it comes to Malik Scott, he knows a lot about the sport, but when he was fighting, he wasn't physically gifted or physically, he wasn't as talented as Deontay Wilder to pull off some of the things he knew. He knows a lot of things, but he can't do it physically, which make a whole lot of sense. That's how a lot of trainers are. They know a lot about the sport, but don't mean they could go out there and perform and do it. Virgil Hunter, look at what he taught Andre Ward. Doesn't mean Virgil Hunter could go out there and do it. So that's my point. Malik Scott knows a lot about the sport, but that don't translate to him being the greatest because he can't physically do a lot of the things he knows. But he could probably teach Deontay Wilder, who's more gifted than him, who's more gifted and more talented than him, to pull it off. So, like I said, I don't pay attention too much to the criticism given by Lil B-Hop, but I just found it was funny how, like I said, he just, he's gonna have to eat his words come fight night, because after the fight, we'll see. When it comes to the fans, Lil B-Hop and everybody will see how the fight play out. It's less than a month away, so we don't have to keep assuming anymore. When fight, June, I think July 24th, we shall see who's right and who's wrong.
The way I see it, we have two huge heavyweight fights coming up. One's big pay-per-view wise, the other one's big competition wise. I think Fury versus Wilder is the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. I think Usyk versus Joshua is another big fight because Joshua's fighting he's fighting an undefeated former undisputed cruiserweight champion. So these are two huge fights that are the undisputed bout. Whether it's AJ versus Wilder, Usyk versus Wilder, AJ versus Fury, it doesn't really matter because, in ways, this is good for the sport to begin with because this really sets up who should really be there. Because the way I see it is, some people are going to take this out of context. Although I hate what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder, this could end up resulting in Deontay Wilder being the best version of himself ever. This could result in people saying, "Oh, Deontay Wilder is one-dimensional. All he relies on his right hand." We may see the most dimensional version of Wilder that's ever been shown, and as a result, he could be unstoppable. So, in a way, even though Tyson Fury nearly killed Wilder, he could end up making Wilder look unbeatable in the heavyweight division. Like, look what how AJ transformed after his Ruiz loss. AJ kind of had to accept that you can't just rely on your power, and you kind of have to go back to your boxing skills. And what did he do against Ruiz in the rematch? He outboxed him. Right. And I'm not saying I expect Deontay Wilder to just outbox Fury and not try to land his power. Of course not. But to me, Wilder only needs a few more tools. He doesn't need to be a Floyd Money Mayweather because Wilder is just blessed with that God-given power. So that add some footwork, some upper body movement to it. Who knows how good he may become, even at 35 years old. So I think it's interesting what's going to happen in the next few months with the heavyweight division.
That's for sure. Hey, that's man. You made you made great points with the fact that you brought up. That's going to make Wilder a better fighter. When Tyson Fury cheated. Now Wilder got to up his game because he knows Tyson Fury's going to have to up his game too. So it's going to make Deontay Wilder that much better, which this is going to be a hell of a fight. It's going to play out very differently. I could guarantee you it's not going to play out the same way the rematch did. But let me also tell you that Lil B-Hop, he did say that he thinks Pacquiao is going to dance all over Errol Spence. He's going to be all over the place because Errol Spence is he said because Errol Spence is flat-footed. He said that's the reason why he thinks Pacquiao going to beat Errol Spence. And Errol Spence had responded to that. He said, in response to Lil B-Hop, he said Kell Brook and Chris Algieri. This is what Errol Spence said. Quote, he said Kell Brook and Chris Algieri was going to beat me too. Laughing emoji. he fighting in Cali because he boring, and they got to put his ass somewhere, and they got to put his ass somewhere. End of the quote. So obviously, Errol Spence is taking shots at Lil B-Hop, but you know, I didn't know he had picked Kell Brook and Chris Algieri. I know he also picked Danny Garcia to beat Errol Spence. Now, it's one thing to yeah, you know, who's flat-footed. It's one thing to pick Danny Garcia because Danny's from Philly. I'm assuming Lil B-Hop from Philly, so that's why he's gonna pick Danny Garcia. But Chris Algieri, come on, brother. Chris Algieri, you really gonna pick Chris Algieri when Errol Spence was walking through fighters? You really gonna pick? I mean, Kell Brook was a more of a 50-50 fight, but even then, Errol Spence was the favorite because people knew how talented Errol Spence was. But the Chris Algieri one really put the icing on the cake. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, nah, I don't know. I mean, based off of what B-Hop has said recently, little B-Hop, right, has said recently, it's kind of hard to take him seriously, and that's kind of a shame too, considering how talented of a fighter he is. Granted, he hasn't really proven himself yet, just based just eye test wise. But to say that about Errol Spence, who's beaten Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Kell Brook, Mikey Garcia, like there's one thing you can say: he's one talented ass fighter. Like, and even me, look. I have nothing but utmost respect for Manny Pacquiao, and I think Pacquiao's going to give Errol Spence some problems. But to say he's going to dance all over him, one thing that's consistent about Errol Spence is that he gets better as the fight persists. And at this point in Manny Pacquiao's career, I don't think he could do what he used to do anymore and have these like infinite combinations and have this quick footwork and not get tired like he used to. Because even in that Keith Thurman fight, Manny Pacquiao slowed down at the end. You saw that in the middle rounds where Keith Thurman started picking up the pace when Manny Pacquiao like had to take his foot off the gas. You can't do that against Errol Spence and win. You can't. Because as we saw in the Sean Porter fight, as we saw in the Kell Brook fight, it wasn't the beginning where Errol Spence dominated. It was the end. That's where Errol Spence's best performance shines, and that's where his dog comes out. And if Manny Pacquiao hopes to have a chance against Errol Spence, he has to stay consistent all 12 rounds. So counting out Errol Spence at all, with all his tools and just his overall mentality, I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, and let me say this, just to make it clear. If you disagree with anything I say, you're more than welcome to call in and voice your opinion. But as far as Lil B-Hop, I'm a big fan of his. He's a switch hitter. He's like a mini version of Lil Boots, you know, Jaron Ennis at 130. He's really talented. You know, don't get me twisted. You know, don't get me wrong. He's a really great fighter that has a lot of potential. But his comments is not making a whole lot of sense, is all I'm saying. I'm not talking about what he could do in the ring. I'm just talking about the comments he had made just didn't add up to me. I'm a big fan of his as well. But like I said before, to say, like, to pick all these guys you just named, he picked Chris Algieri, Kell Brook, Danny Garcia, and Errol Spence beat every single one, and beat every single one impressively. So by Errol Spence beating every single one impressively, doesn't that mean that will, you know, as a fan, if you doubted Errol Spence every single time, you will gain a lot of respect for him as a fighter? You know, you probably start retracting your statements like, damn, yeah, I was wrong about Errol Spence, man, because he proved me wrong every single time, man. Every time I picked against him, I thought this fighter had his you know, his number. He always proved me wrong. But Lil B-Hop he's not doing that. Every time he picks against him, every time he picks against Errol Spence, he continues to pick against Errol without making a whole lot of sense, is all I'm saying. Because I have heard Lil B-Hop mention that he had, you know, if Danny Garcia let his hands go, Danny Garcia wasn't 100%, which, I mean, I don't even I don't even know why people say Danny Garcia was on 100% when Errol was the one that was coming off a car accident where he survived in a miracle way. We didn't even know if Errol was going to be ever the same. I mean, we were like, man, we were praying that he will make it, let alone come back to the ring and perform the way he does. You know what I mean? So that's just another blessing. You know, so to hear Lil B-Hop or Danny Garcia mention that they weren't 100% is ridiculous, to say the least, because like I said before, it was Errol Spence that was coming off a car accident. But the main thing that I want to say is you will never ever hear a Mexican say this about other Mexican fighters. You will never ever hear a Mexican pick against other Mexican fighters, especially when they are the favorite, like Errol Spence is going against Pacquiao, or Errol Spence going in against an Algerian. The only time you see people from their own race picking against their own people is Black Americans. We see it with the way they treat Deontay Wilder, and shockingly, with the way they treating Errol Spence too, picking against them, because you will never ever see a Filipino pick against another Filipino, and that's a fact. I don't care what you say. You will never find Mexicans go against other Mexicans. You will never find Filipinos go against other Filipinos, especially when it doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. And that's where it just comes off wrong, you know. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, we see fighters, we see even trainers, you know, criticize Shakur Stevenson, putting out false accusations such as, oh, Shakur is protected. You remember the trainer that said that?
Yeah, I didn't understand this, because I'm like,
yeah, you know his name, because I want to mention his name.
Nah, I only remember the video, but I don't remember the guy's name. But I was surprised. I was like, protected. I'm like, how is he protected? He's look at the resume that he's had in only 16 fights. Is it the greatest resume of all time? No, but it's better than most of these guys who are quote unquote champions. Like, I keep telling people who say, oh, look at Shakur's resume and look at Valdez. I'm like, you're comparing a guy who's had 29 fights and is 30 years old to a kid who's had 16 fights and is 24 years old. Do you look at yourself? And he's about to accomplish the same thing. We're praising Valdez for being a 2-division champion this year. Okay, kudos to him. Shakur's about to do the same exact thing in his next fight against Jamel Herring. And people are already making excuses. Oh, well, Jamel Herring isn't a Burchell. Okay. But you do know that the only reason why Shakur is even talking about Jamel Herring is because he knows that's the only way he'll get Valdez potentially in the ring. And that's the only reason why.
And speaking of the trainer, is Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt said...
Buddy McGirt. I heard.
He said Shakur Stevenson is protected. And it's funny, how can the boogeyman be protected? Shakur is the most avoided. He's not the protected one. Oscar Valdez is being protected. All these other fighters are being protected from Shakur. Shakur is a free smoke fighter. He can't, man. I'm telling you, ESPN and Top Rank revealed they got to go through a list to find an opponent for Shakur. I'm talking about the top 20 is out of the way. They got to go below the top 20, under the top 20, because the top 20 won't fight him. They got to get him out of the way. From the beginning of his career, it was Shakur Stevenson before all of the other competition who made the first step up against Diaz. It was Shakur Stevenson who fought Diaz when everyone was telling him it's too early. Shakur Stevenson, like you said, if you look at his record, he's on a fast track, if anything. He wanted to fight Oscar Valdez back at 126. Oscar Valdez said, I'm only fighting Frampton. If I can't get Frampton, I'm moving up. Shakur moved up, still can't get that fight. Herring want to fight Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez want to fight Herring, but nobody want to fight Shakur. However, Shakur want to fight everybody. He the boogeyman, but Buddy McGirt is going to say Shakur is being protected. I mean, like I said, at least if you're going to criticize someone, let it be fair criticism. Don't put false accusation out there in the universe that's not even true. The worst thing you could do is hate on your own people. And that's why I don't respect is when I hear a comment where it's not coming from a sincere place. Like I said before, even Lil Beehive, when he mentioned, he said he had mentioned that Errol Spence is going to lose to Algeria, according to Errol Spence, or Errol Spence is going to lose to Pacquiao. You will never, ever hear a Filipino pick against their own people, especially when their own fighter is favored to win. You will never hear a Mexican pick against their own countrymen, against their own people, especially when the Mexican is favored to win, like Errol Spence was favored to win against Algeria. It will never happen. So I don't understand it. I really don't understand it, and I don't understand where it's coming from. So that's where I'm trying to get a second opinion. But any last thoughts on that before I pick up the last call and end the show?
No, I mean, just in regards to Shakur, man, this kid gets I don't really know why people criticize him. I really don't. Because this kid is everything you want him to be. He wants all the smoke at this age. And he's calling out even when he was asked, do you want to fight Jamel Herring next? He straight up said no. And he gave his reasons. He said because Jamel Herring is a guy who's already has already been beaten before. He's already a little out of his prime. He said, I'd rather fight Valdez because that's a much more competitive fight, and that's a fight that will push me to my best. And I'm like, and this kid's only 24 saying this stuff. This isn't what you hear from a guy who's being protected or being scared. You don't call out the best.
Yeah.
You call out fighters that we've never heard about. People say, oh, Shakur doesn't deserve a fight with Valdez. Okay, well, Valdez's next fight better be a champion or a top contender. It better not be a fighter I've never heard of, which I guarantee you it will be. It's going to be a voluntary defense against a fighter who's ranked lower than Shakur Stevenson. Because for those who aren't wondering, Shakur is ranked number 1, not just under the WBO, but under the WBC. So Shakur is technically the best fighter Valdez can fight who's not a champion. So there's no excuse why he shouldn't fight Shakur at this point.
And Shakur only want to fight.
You guys are going to make excuses.
Yeah, and Shakur only want to fight Herring, like he said, in order to give Oscar Valdez the reason to fight him, the reason he been asking for, get a belt. So he want to fight Herring in order to get the belt he's been looking for since he's been wanting to fight Herring, that Oscar Valdez, that is. So once he get that belt, Oscar Valdez can't make no more excuses. So we shall see. But what I will say, they say Shakur was being too technical his last fight. Deontay Wilder looks too horrible with his technique, even though he gets knockout. Devin Haney, he got hurt, taking risks in order to give the fans the fight that they wanted to see. And even last Sunday, when David Morrell scored that knockout, now they want to critique him for the rabbit punching when it was his opponent that initiated the clinching, headbutting, and low blows. So he was retaliating to his opponent. And even after scoring a flawless victory in the first round, there's criticism. So like I said before, if you do, if you're on the coincidental list, you damn if you do, damn if you don't. You got the complexion for the neglection. So I appreciate you, Joey. Had a great time talking with you. And let me go ahead and pick up the last caller before I end the show.
Likewise, my brother. Keep killing these Zcasts. Take it easy, man.
Yes, sir, man. Great talking with you like always. That's Joey right there. And how you doing, Aki? Who this is and where you calling from?
Yo, what's up, Aki? It's Kieran from Albany, New York.
Oh, my man. What's going on? So, hey, man, there's news, right, that Manny Pacquiao fight versus Errol Spence is in jeopardy because of the Mikey Garcia fight. Supposedly, ESPN put out a report that the fight is in jeopardy. The fight might not be taking place because of Conor McGregor promoter or manager. He had signed Manny Pacquiao like a year ago in order to make the Conor McGregor fight. But remember, Conor lost to Dustin Poirier. So when he lost to Dustin, that kind of took the Conor fight away from the table when it came to Manny Pacquiao. So Pacquiao had to look elsewhere. So for the meantime, I'm assuming Conor manager wanted to give Pacquiao something and make money off signing him by making the Mikey Garcia fight happen. But Pacquiao did not want to go with that option. He wanted to go out with a bang. He said that go hard or go home, so he went with the Errol Spence option with Al Heyman. So now supposedly there's a lawsuit that's taking place. And obviously a week from now, Conor McGregor is going to fight Dustin Poirier. And if he is successful, maybe that's what they want to make, Conor versus Manny Pacquiao. Maybe they trying to save, the Pacquiao fight because they afraid if Pacquiao lose to Errol Spence, that might ruin the Conor McGregor fight. I disagree. I think win or lose, he could still get the Conor McGregor fight because it don't matter. It don't matter. Conor is not a boxer. So what's your thoughts on that lawsuit, and have you heard about it?
Yeah, I heard about it. I watched it on Blue Blood's channel. But honestly, man, like I don't understand Manny Pacquiao's decisions. I think he should just take the fight with Spence. Spence can just roll right through him. And then after that fight, just go after Ugas because as far as I know, the WBA denied, I guess, moving forward with I guess reelevating Manny Pacquiao as the super champion, right? Or trying to reinstate him. So,
and that's
me personally, I was thinking Ugas.
And that's official. The WBA denied to reinstate Pacquiao as the WBA champion.
Yeah, because I got it from Blue Blood, and he made a video about it, stating that the WBA denied trying to make Manny Pacquiao look the WBA super champion again, and I think Ugas is now the current title holder for it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I hope Keith Thurman ends up fighting Ugas, so that could set up another unification fight between the winner of that fight and the Ugas. I heard Ugas is going to be fighting on the undercard of Errol Spence versus Pacquiao. So if Keith Thurman is on the undercard, that's going to be huge, and it could build up a fight after with the winner of that fight. But let me finish it off with this right here. Manny Pacquiao did respond to the allegations of the lawsuit. He said nothing could stop the Errol Spence fight. That's what he that's what he decided to do. And I find it interesting by ESPN. They try to use the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury arbitration situation when that's like comparing not apples to oranges, but apples to rocks. I mean, Deontay Wilder, we knew he had a rematch clause. We knew old media was pretty much covering up for Tyson Fury. I don't know why, because they were just delaying the inevitable, lying to the people. And ESPN even ran with a report that AJ and Tyson Fury is official. They signed a 2-fight deal they signed a 2-fight deal already. They already signed the contracts. So they completely ignored the Deontay Wilder arbitration, knowing that there was a rematch clause signed by Tyson Fury, because obviously Tyson Fury fight under ESPN. But now they're going to say that Pacquiao might not be fighting Errol Spence next because Pacquiao didn't agree to fight Mikey Garcia. At the end of the day, you cannot force nobody to fight unless they sign a contract. As long Manny never signed a contract to fight Mikey Garcia, then he's not obligated to do anything. He could do whatever he wants. If he decides to fight Errol, so be it. That's what he decided to do. They can't tell Manny Pacquiao what to do. If he decides to fight Errol Spence, then that's what he's gonna do. So I just want to give my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Because to me, I think it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Manny Pacquiao, he should be the one saying to the public what he's going to do next. And I think with him being out the ring for 2+ years, this is all his fault for not planning this out properly and making sure that he lets out the public know who he's going to fight next, because you're just holding up the welterweight division. Because it's like, if I were Manny Pacquiao after I had defeated Keith Thurman for his belt, I should have just went straight to Errol Spence and just said, hey, let's unify. And then if he loses to Errol Spence, then Errol Spence can go after Crawford or who else was left to clean up the division. Because it's like Errol Spence. I don't know if you saw that video where he was talking with I think Ellie Seckback, right? He was telling him how he's like sick and tired of like fighting on the welterweight division, because it's like there's so much holdup in the division. And it's like, I don't blame him, because it's like why should you be waiting up on these fighters when these fighters should be either defending their belt or unifying with you? And it's like, if I'm Errol Spence, it's either I'm going to leave 147 and move up to 154, or I'm going to force these fights, because you don't want to be holding up, you don't want to be waiting inside the division for that much longer when you're trying to go for legacy.
And especially when it's getting harder to cut down the weight, you want to, it's kind of, it gets harder for you to make the weight, right? So you don't want to wait at a division too long to make certain fights. So it's always best to stay active. But like I said before, I just found it interesting that the same network that reported Wilder versus Fury is not going to happen, the trilogy is not going to happen, AJ versus Fury is next. Now they trying to say Errol versus Pacquiao is not going to happen because of a lawsuit that Pacquiao is supposedly in, even though Pacquiao never signed a contract. But with that being said, I want to get your take on Ryan Garcia. He tweeted. Ryan Garcia, he tweeted that. Let me read it to you real quick. I don't know if you caught it, but he said, 2 explosive fighters bound to be legendary. And he told Leonard Ellaby he wants Gervonta Tank Davis next.
Wow. Ryan Garcia, you are all caps.
So you don't believe him, but by your reaction, it don't seem like you believe him.
Bro, do you realize that Ryan Garcia should have been Tank's next opponent? If we're gonna be consistent here, Ryan Garcia, I say again, Ryan Garcia should have been inside the ring fighting Tank. And that should have been either back in January, or it should have been sometime in July, or like right now in June. Because it's like, he literally just lied for like how many months? Like 6 to 7 months. And he wasted everybody's time. You have done nothing other than beat a bum by the name of Luke Campbell. And then you go up on this, fantasy mental health, saga, saying like, oh, I'm suffering mental health illness, blah, blah, blah. But yet you're chilling with your girlfriend, having a good time with your kids and family. Get the fuck out of here, man. I seriously hope he gets knocked out in his next fight, because right now he's proven to the world that he is the biggest fraud in boxing, and you are the biggest bum in boxing. To hell with Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this, man. I don't know what Ryan is doing. Like I said, when Devin fought Linares, he said, "Oh man, if that was me, I would have knocked you out." When he could have been the one, he was supposed to be the one that was fighting Devin Haney instead of Linares. He should have been in the ring that night, but he rather say that he's gonna knock out Devin instead of fighting Devin. And now, with Gervonta, like you said, he should have been in the ring instead of Barrios. It should have been Ryan versus Gervonta instead of Gervonta versus Barrios. But now after the fight, he want to claim, yeah, I want to fight Gervonta next. Like I said, fool me one time, shame on me. Fool me twice, fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. With that being said, my camera died on me. Great talking with you, my brother, like always, man. Always fun chatting it with you, man. And my computer about to die. So I'm gonna holler at you next time, all right?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, AKHi.
Thank you so much. This is my brother right here.
All right. Have a good night.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night. And to everybody that's in the chat, my camera, as you guys see, already died on me. So subscribe below and click on the notification bell. And to be continued on the next episode of AKHi TV. Peace, and I'm on to the next one.